Oh yeah. Oh, it's over. It's all over. Now the good stuff begins. Hello everybody and welcome to episode 68 of the DNVR Nuggets' Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav. I use my Saturday afternoons to play power guard in my 5-on-5 basketball game for elderly citizens of Pančevo City, Serbia, and I spend my Saturday evenings hanging out with some brilliant Nuggets fans who are either my guests or participants in the best weekend live chat on both sides of Atlantic Ocean. This is not a scientific fact, it is based on a well-informed hunch, so don't quote me. This week started off with some fire quotes from the Nuggets GM Calvin Booth, mainly about the ways his front office is building around the best player in basketball, but also around the best starting lineup, outside of the German national team, which is still the world champions. I'd like to steal a minute of your time concentrating on this part of the interview and not the part in which he mentions Bones Highland, Bruce Brown, and Michael Porter Jr. That part is already dissected by the DNVR fellas, and I have nothing to add to it. But regarding the team building, finding guys that fit the team based on their measurables, athleticism, basketball IQ, and positional skills, I thought that part was extremely insightful. I also found him mentioning some other teams with a lot of overlapping strengths as examples of bad team building, was a bit cocky and was probably making some colleagues of his shake their heads a bit. We will all agree Calvin should choose his words a bit more careful going forward, but one thing is for certain. He really knows how to sell his own skills, and since he was watching up close Tim Connolly get the real bag elsewhere, maybe he figured emphasizing his own contribution early is a smart thing to do. Yeah, I just went there. Also of note, the president of Serbian Olympic Committee, Boža Maljković, who is, by the way, a legendary basketball coach and father of our most successful ladies basketball coach, Marina Maljković, talked to the media and said that all of the Serbian superstar athletes, including Novak Djokovic and Nikola Jokic, will play next year at the Olympics in Paris. I would say this is a reasonable thing to expect, but I wouldn't call this reporting or something that is guaranteed to happen. It's still 10 months away, people, so let's wait for Jokic camp to make it official, and that won't happen before June. I want to touch on a wonderful tweet by Vic Lombardi, where he wrote about how much time and effort Nikola Jokic invests in his signature shot, the Somber Shuffle. People outside of Denver will have more opportunities to see his crazy good touch from a weird shot the Somber Shuffle is, because the Nuggets are going to finally be on TV a lot. Other players might start copying it more often, but I have a small anecdote to tell them. Some 20 years ago, my cousin, and she is a professional singer, actress, and dancer nowadays, was preparing a very difficult song from an opera for her final exams at the university. She asked her professor if she could change the key of the song by half a tone, so it would be easier for her. She mentioned that famous soprano Maria Callas used to change that key in that song as well, and her professor replied, "Mira," that's my cousin's name, "when you are as good as Maria Callas, you can change the key." So guys, don't waste your time trying to copy Nikola's touch from shots that don't look pretty. You're not good enough. Okay, so the preseason is over. The Nuggets went 3-2, so it's time to recap it by handing out the first batch of the annual Serbian Corners Denver Nuggets preseason awards. Now, that was catchy. To help me do it, I've invited some first ballot Hall of Fame worthy guests. First, a Serbian corner debutant, a very well-known name in the Nuggets sphere, but I guess it is worth noting that he is a professor of pharmacology and also a neurobiology researcher. Welcome, Dr. Gordon Glazner.
Oh, good to be here.
Is it Glazner or Glazner?
Glazner.
Glazner. Sorry about my initial.
That's okay.
So I'm really excited to finally meet you. Can you tell me a bit about how you became a Nuggets fan?
So I was raised, although I'm in Canada now, I was raised in Southwest Colorado on a cattle ranch. And I became a Nuggets fan probably around 1977, 78 during the original real Denver Stiffs, when they were incredibly exciting and could score all kinds of points. And unfortunately, the other teams would score 5 more points than they did. So
but they were so stiff, it looked like they played good defense, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. No, they didn't play with any defense.
Okay. Next, another debutant, my fellow musician. He is also a lawyer and one of the longest tenured Nuggets fans out there as well. It's Daniel Lynch. What's up, Dan? It looks like he is frozen a bit. Oh, no. Okay. Dan, can you please disconnect and connect again? And while we are waiting for you, my last guest for today, not the least, I guess. This is a guy that once upon a time was among my favorite people in the world that I never met in person, but he is not anymore. Because we did meet last September. He is one of the premier Nuggets storytellers, a total novice in Street Fighter lore. He is the guy with the worst crossover dribble Belgrade has ever seen. It's my good buddy, Brendan Vogt.
Oh, man, what a treat. So happy to be here. I blurred my background so none of you heathens can figure out where I live. And I just want to say that while I'm sorry Daniel couldn't make it, I was very nervous to follow a neurobiologist and a lawyer. So thanks for that, Miroslav. I'm a blogger. Very excited to be here.
Oh, man, you just ruined my joke. I just wanted to say that I'm such a nice guy, so I'm using this warm welcome for you instead of just saying we're welcoming a professor, a lawyer, and then Brendan.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, that's what's happening. Yeah, sorry to step on your joke, but
you see right through me, right through me. So, guys, before we get into the weeds of what we're going to talk about today, and that's which players we want to give away our preseason awards to, in a similar manner that the NBA is giving awards at the end of the regular season for some reason. I don't know why we shouldn't do it for the preseason as well. Tell me your overarching take from the preseason we've just witnessed. Let's start with Gordon.
So I wasn't expecting much out of this preseason because they're all rookies, or they're people we've seen before who have disappointed before, right? And I was very, very happy that we've got at least, I think, 3 people. We can be very hopeful. That's not even counting Christian Brown, because obviously he's going to be in there. But, I mean, Strother, obviously, he's an amazing talent. And then a couple of the other rookies looked like they might develop into something over the next year or so. So much better than I would have expected.
Yeah, before we go to Brendan, I think we have Dan on the line.
Hopefully you can still hear me.
Yeah,
we can see you. You're ready to rock.
So let me shoot my preview for you. You're my fellow musician, a lawyer, longest tenured Nuggets fan out there, I guess.
A year or two before Gordon.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah,
I knew it. Gordon is such a young lad, I guess. So tell me, you've shared with me a really interesting story about how you got into basketball back in the day. Can you share that story with the audience?
My mother was nearly 6 feet tall. She grew up in Western New York, and she liked basketball because she said that's where all the tall men were. So she as a teenager started following the Rochester Royals, which obviously eventually made it to be the Sacramento Kings. But anyway, when she moved to Denver and they started the NBA in Denver, she started taking me and my brother to the games. So that's how I became a NBA fan.
That's a great story. And it reminded me of one thing. You guys see me wearing this shirt that is almost a flower shirt. It's not because I love Brendan so much. It's because I actually attended the wedding ceremony today I spent 6 hours listening to extremely loud music before the show. So in case I cannot hear you, I'm not pretending I'm literally, tone deaf right now. But
Miroslav, I don't want to derail your podcast into a regional excitement podcast, but I have family from the Rochester area too. What a treat. We're basically related. Sorry, continue, Miroslav.
That's excellent, because I'm actually supposed to visit Rochester at some point, because
what?
Kodak has a big plant over there, and I'm a Kodak engineer. So, but that's a story for
fascinating stuff. No, open that up. Let's go. We got time.
Yeah, but then when you mentioned your mother was almost six feet tall, the funny story I heard today at the wedding reception was from a young lady who is a former basketball player, and she said, we have that what we do at the weddings. The bride takes a flower bouquet and throws it over her head, so the young ladies can catch it, and then the one that catches should be the next bride. So this girl, because she is a basketball player, she can see the path of the flowers, and she always catches it. And she told us that before the wedding, and she did catch it. So
I've never been married.
Never. She's still too young, but I guess she's building up her,
like the Wilt Chamberlain of attending weddings.
Okay, Brendan, I'm not going to ask you a lot about your overarching takes, because we've heard so many of them. So let's get into the weeds of it. Before we actually go to real awards, I mean, none of them are real, but let's pretend they are. I just wanted to give away the Coach of the Preseason award. And I think David Allen did a great job of giving all the available players enough runway. He played a big number of different lineups. It was unfortunate MPJ and Christian Brown couldn't be a part of it, due to injuries. But this time around, the Coach of the Preseason award will go to the coach that was the biggest influence on the coach that actually brought the first championship in the Nuggets history. And I'm of course talking about the late coach Brendan Malone. So this is a posthumous award for Brendan Malone. Once again, thank you, Mr. Coach, for coaching your kid, so now he can coach the world champions. Once more, thanks again. So we'll take a short break, and then we will go into the actual awards segment. Don't go anywhere.
So you're an engineer?
I am.
Oh, good.
It's not a real break, Gordon. We're still live.
Are we?
And we are back. So let's start with the dumbest award NBA has ever made. It's the sixth player of the year, or in this case, sixth player of the preseason for the Nuggets.
This is a dumb award.
So a guy it's not good enough to be in the starting lineup, but he's still super cool, and we want to give an award to him. So I'm gonna nominate somebody, and then we'll talk about him, and if you have another idea, we can go into that. So I wanted to nominate Julian Strother. He averaged 18 points per game in 23 minutes with 51, 45, 90 shooting splits. What? I loved his off-ball movement, and that shouldn't be too big of a surprise. It was in his draft card. His shots also went in a very high rate, also not necessarily a surprise. But his ability to put the ball on the court and shoot off the dribble and also attack the basket is giving him extra credits that I think all by guarantees him a rotation spot for the ring night. Most improved player. Oh, sorry. We'll go to the most. So, do you guys agree with me that there's nobody else in contention for this kind of award? Let's start with Gordon.
Seventh man of the right, since we know that Christian's going to be the sixth man. But there's also something I wanted to say about Strother is, with all of his scoring, if you'll notice, when he has the ball, he's not always a score first guy. He passes quite frequently. He's got a good handle. And when he scores, no matter how dramatic it is, he's expressionless. I mean, he fits so much with the way that Jokic is. He doesn't smile. He looks up the board. He looks at the replay, and he just keeps going. No celebration, no clowning, no nothing. And I really think that fits with the culture of the Nuggets as well.
Yeah, that's a great observation.
I would say that it's obviously Julian. If you were going to look at other candidates for me, one person who on our show on the channel we were pretty down on, but actually performed well is Reggie Jackson, who generally speaking shot the ball well. It just sort of depends. I mean, I know I personally was looking for something a little different from him, more playmaking, more just looking like a point guard. But you also can't overlook the fact that he was hitting shots, so he's an option. But the guy I would nominate is Zeke Naji, who I actually think looked better. Now, I'm not 100% sold, and that's part of the issue. I think we were hoping to think we would be 100% sold this time around. But he's sneakily, I think, done a lot of the things he's been asked to do. Looks a little more aggressive to me. So it's obviously Julian one. But if you're looking at other guys, I ultimately was impressed with what Zeke did.
It's so funny how we overreact to Summer League. And we talked all summer about Hunter Tyson and about Jalen Pickett. And we almost forgot about Julian just because he was missing most of his shots in Summer League. Totally. But, luckily, we do have some Strutter fans out there that reminded us that he is actually the first guy Calvin Booth wanted for this team. So it's really exciting. Gordon, do you think, and Calvin Booth actually mentioned this in his interview for Ringer, that he actually found a kind of a cheat code to find excellent role players late in the first round or early in the second round?
I wouldn't know what his cheat code is. I mean, he's obviously has a real talent for it. As much as I'm a tall guy, I've never played a single game of basketball. So I was a football wrestler. So I came into this game a little bit late and learned it from people like you. But I have seen that there are some people that just have a real knack for seeing what a person is doing in university, even though the numbers may be less than others, and see where their development can go. And that's something that I don't know. I certainly don't know how to do. I've watched for years and years, and I will pick somebody out, think they're going to be good, and they don't. And of course, the experts think they're going to be good as well, and they don't turn out to be. And then somebody comes out from nowhere and becomes great. So there's clearly something that some people can read. I don't know what it is.
So Dan, what was your initial reaction when you heard that the Nuggets are actually drafting three rookies for this season, trying to repeat or build up for making a dynasty? Was it a logical thing to you when you saw three picks, or did it make it more logical when you see their age actually?
Well, I mean, Kroenke Sports Enterprise is not Steve Ballmer. KSE is not going to pay. I read in the Ringer the other day that the Clippers are paying $99 million in a luxury tax. I mean, come on, man. I mean, like, there's just too much money in the world if that's the case. That's just ridiculous. Come on. Anyway, so that tells me that the philosophy that obviously is going on here, which is you got to have productive players on rookie deals. That's KSE, man. That's what they're about. You can't argue with sort of the organizational success that they've had. They made the Rams, a Super Bowl champion. I don't pay any attention to the Premier League, but apparently they're doing okay over there. I don't know.
They're on quite the run. They are on quite the run.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever the secret sauce is that they have for identifying people who can identify people, they're doing great with that.
Calvin,
no, it doesn't surprise me.
Calvin is really confident. There's a lot of conviction is the thing. And so early on, it looks and sounds like one of his strategies is finding more of the can't fail players, the guys that, will they turn into superstars? Probably not. But look at these traits, like they can contribute in years 1 and 2. And both with Julian and Christian, we heard after the fact that Calvin borderline had to be physically restrained, I'm joking, from reaching and trading up to take these guys even earlier. He has all these guys higher on his board than everyone else. So where some GMs maybe put the can't miss older guys towards the back of the draft, I do think Calvin, with his starting lineup in tow, is just like, hey man, let's not mess around. If those guys can play, that's who we're drafting. And it doesn't really matter where they fall to us on the draft board. He circles guys early and he has conviction in them. I will say, I think there's a little time. It's a little early to anoint every draft pick he's made as, you know, he drafted Christian Brown, A+. Julian Strawther looks like an A+. Peyton Watson looks more like a project, right? So we don't necessarily know exactly how he likes to approach this after 2 years, but I do think he you know, those guys that are ready to contribute, that's who he values more than anyone else.
And if I could make one more observation about what Calvin Booth, I think, figured out that maybe other teams don't think about, and that is, you know, there's going to be another draft next year too. You know,
yeah, there's one thing. There's about
there was one last year, and everybody in the NBA is the #1 draft pick. Yeah. Even the bad players are #1 picks.
There's a 15 to 20% hit rate on the places where he's drafting, and his hit rate's far higher than that.
Yeah,
I don't think people are saying that he's getting every good player.
Right.
His percentage is much higher than you would normally expect.
My point was actually more, not that, like, I mean, so far he's nailing the picks, is more, you know, Peyton Watson is an exception to the rule of these other picks. And how many exceptions is he going to take? How many gambles is he going to take? You know, that time will tell, right?
Right.
It's easy to say we've seen a philosophy after 2 years, but as of right now, I think he does view the team as complete in the top 5, and it's about filling in the rest with affordable and players that can contribute right away.
Just one more question for you, Brendan, about Julian. He looks kind of small to me for a 6'7" guy. I don't know. It's probably because I'm watching on TV and everything is so far away. But you've seen a lot of, I guess, ends of practices of the teams live. So does he look small?
No, I mean, part of it is he's long. And so I actually think it's just that he's young. He's a rookie. And I try to, like, what's the least weird way to say it? He's like, his body hasn't matured, I guess, right? You just see these guys in the first 2 to 3 years, they undergo these transformations. Christian Brown already from year 1 to 2, you know, his profile hasn't changed, but his build has changed. So I think that's probably some of it. Like, he just looks young. But I would actually say in terms of length and height, when he's on the floor, he looks big to me.
Okay, so let me just explain how this award thing works. There's 4 votes. We can go into 4-way tie. We can go into 2-way tie. In either case, my vote is the bigger one because I'm the host. So what you're gonna do is I'm making the rules. So what you're gonna do? So, but in this case, I don't think we have any kind of dilemma. I think we all vote for Julian Strawther to be the 6th player of the preseason. Now we're moving to the most improved player. So no rookies allowed. And I actually contemplated on nominating Strawther here as well, since he improved so much from his summer league showing. But since I believe in rules and not in chaos, I'm going to say Zeke Nagy, who averaged 9 points, 5 rebounds, 1 block in 19 minutes per game. Gordon, Zeke is kind of a polarizing player because, to me at least, because I feel like he is still not as NBA kind of player as he should be in his 4th season. Like, he doesn't look like a guy that knows what he's doing all the time. But on the other hand, he was really hustling a lot in these preseason games. We've seen some really impressive, you know, rebounds that were not supposed to be his at all, that he would grab. So where are you on the scale for Zeke Nagy at the moment?
On the scale of how playable he is?
Yeah, or comparing to what you felt about him before the preseason.
So he wasn't my pick for most improved, because one of the things about Zeke is that we have been very hopeful about Zeke because we've seen some of the really impressive things he can do, and then he doesn't. He's because he's been injured. But one of the things that happens emotionally if you have these players you get super hyped about and then disappointed, and then super hyped about and disappointed, is they start to get some kind of stain on them, where people are like, oh no, I don't want to go through this again. So I don't want to downplay the fact that he is playing better. But can I give you my pick for most improved?
Of course.
It was Reggie Jackson. So as much as I'm not a huge Reggie Jackson fan to begin with, he's been quite good offensively. And then there was one little sequence in the fourth game, I think, where he was on Kawhi and they tried to do a pick and roll with Zubac, and he stuck to him. He stuck to Kawhi like glue. Kawhi had to pass out. And just not 5 minutes later, exactly the same situation, only P. White was guarding. And as soon as P. White hit Zubac, it was just like he's made a styrofoam. He's popped right off of Kawhi. So then Jackson goes down, gets a foul on Kawhi, gets free throws, and a minute later hits a three. I mean, he had lots of sequences like that where he was playing good defense, good offense, not a great ball handler. But remember, he's always going to be on the floor with Jamal Murray, who's going to be the ball handler, right? In fact, one of the problems is they have overlapping skills. But as much as he wasn't even my seventh man, he was, to me, the most improved. What do you have? You have Zeke Naji, who I don't think improved that much. P. Watt, Jordan, who we're really not going to talk about. I mean, there's only 4 or 5 you can choose from.
Yeah.
We were choosing starters out of choosing KCP, because what he has always done has been a great perimeter player and a great defender. But what do you see now in preseason? He's cutting to the basket all the time now. So he's added this ability to slash in, which is really going to help, I think, some of our pressure on the basket.
Yes. Dan, before I ask you, just one small note. America will never learn to pronounce his name because he's a role player, but it's Ivica Zubac. I really like that guy. It's really hard to pronounce because it doesn't make any sense, in Anglo-Saxon way of reading the words. Ivica Zubac. He's a super nice guy, super smart guy, and he's a huge Jokic fan as well from way before. So this is why I like him really a lot. Dan, who is your pick for the most improved player?
I got to go with Zeke, although I agree with everything that has been said about him, the sort of frustrating nature of rooting for Zeke. I feel like Zeke's game, his feet are better than his hands. He moves his feet super good. I mean, he gets around on his feet, but I just feel like if to the extent there's a weakness in his rebounding game, it's mostly because the ball gets taken from him. I mean, just like ripped out of his hands like it's somebody else's candy.
Right. Even on the fouls, it's like some of those, it's like, man, finish through that. Yeah.
But I will say a couple positives about Zeke. One, as I observed in the chat the other week, watching him beat the crap out of Bol Bol was, to me, the highlight of the preseason. I loved that. Yeah. And so Zeke gets the nod for no reason. On Reggie, quickly, Reggie has actually started passing the Dan Lynch outburst test. That's how I tell. It's if I say, "Nice rebound, Zeke," that's an outburst. And if I have found myself almost every game, having an outburst about Reggie Jackson, which stuns me because
you might have other outbursts about him too, like both directions. But I think we're gonna get we're gonna get a little bit of good and bad, I think.
But also, if I went in preparation for this, I went and looked at the preseason stats, and it's like he's been sneaky effective, Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, he's scoring.
He started so low. Yeah. That's the other thing, is he started at such a low. He was unplayable last year, essentially. Right. So I think that was part of the most improved, is that there's a large difference.
Yeah, I agree with Gordon that if for whatever reason you're not going with Zeke, it's got to be Reggie.
I think these guys covered it, Miro.
So what would be your vote then?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's one of those two. I was going to go with Zeke. Gordon kind of made a pretty convincing argument that
I agree.
Zeke looks more or less the same. I'm like more hopeful with Zeke than anything, but Yeah, I guess Reggie's a good one. He's like off ball, catch and shoot. He's pretty good, pretty comfortable. And that's where you're like, okay, they'll take that scoring pot. My one issue with him, and maybe this doesn't matter so much, it's hard to know what to weigh so heavily. But he had, like, when he turns it over to me, they're like rookie season Porter on defense mistakes, you know, like the loudest mistakes you've ever seen. And it's hard for me to, sometimes I'm like, how did that happen? But who cares if he's hitting his shots? He's playing hard. And I think he has been in the preseason.
Yeah, one thing that goes in Reggie's favor is he's a hooper, and his face looks really intense while he's playing. He's sort of like Bryn Forbes in that, like he's always like
he's got every accessory on at the same time. So he's like, you're like,
six
this guy's
gear, six gear all the time. It's really impressive, and I agree. Yeah, his starting point last year was really low because the Nuggets were already, you know, huffing and puffing towards the championship. They knew what they were doing, and what Reggie was doing was a completely different thing. And I agree, he's not. We want him to be a playmaker, and he's not. He's not a playmaker. He's not a playmaker. He's just a hooper with a lot of points in his hands. Sometimes not. So we'll see. There's a lot of questions about his fit with Jamal Murray as well. We'll see about that part. But yeah, I'm glad that you picked Zeke, so I wouldn't have to be an asshole and like make a special vote, special to take my host role here. So the most improved preseason guy goes to Zeke Nnaji. We're taking another break, and then we're gonna get into some really interesting awards. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back. Defensive player of the preseason. So the joke take would be Jay Huff, who had 6 rebounds and 2 blocks in just 17 minutes.
Don't tell D-line.
I was defending him hard because he really did some nice things before he was, you know, dunked on and then scored on repeatedly, actually. But my real vote goes to Zeke Nnaji here, who averaged 1.5 steals and 2.3 blocks per 36 minutes, along with 6.4 defensive rebounds. By the way, nobody can touch Amida Brimas per 36 minutes. He recorded a lot of shit in his 6 minutes on the court in that one game. But Zeke really looked good to me on defense. He was impressive around the rim in several occasions. Do we have another guy to vote for the defensive player? Let's start with Gordon.
No, he was my choice as well. Part of it is we have these huge slew of people who are 6'6" to 6'8", and except for P-Watt, who wasn't doing that well, can't guard anybody big, and Nnaji can, right? He was on the big people. But one other thing I want to point out about the rookies in general. I mean, people are saying that they're important because our bench didn't come along until the playoffs. Keep in mind, from December 18th to March 15th, 40 games, we were 29-11, had the 11th best offense and the 7th best defense, and our bench was playing terribly, right? I mean, that's part of our privilege, is having the best 5 players on the planet, is that
outside of Germany,
we don't have to panic so much about how well these guys are going to play this year, you know?
I can't help myself. Sorry, Gordon. I completely agree with your take. Dan?
I'm sorry, you know, the Germany reference just threw me off my game. What was the question again?
So, do you want to nominate anybody else for the defensive player of the preseason?
Defensive player, it was Zeke.
If I were going to nominate another guy, I would actually say Justin Holiday, who looked pretty good and disruptive passing lanes wise, and I thought was like switchable. But I was reaching for another guy. I'll keep it real. The hardest guy to have notes on was Justin Holiday this preseason. You know, I thought he was either blending in a good way or underwhelming, right? So it was, but the things he did do well, you're like, okay, he looks the part physically. He's switchable. He had a couple steals. He was a little disruptive here and there. But I would say Zeke too. I just, you know, at risk of this being a Zeke heavy episode, I'll throw Justin in there as an honorable mention.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main reason I'm nominating Zeke is because I kind of didn't expect that from him. I mean, he's known for being really good switchy defender, but on the other hand, he was supposed to play against some really big guys in the second units, and you know, outside of that one Clipper game, I guess he held his own pretty good. So yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I have to go this way, and it's not a popular thing to say, but I already said it like a couple of weeks ago. Everybody's very excited about Jamal Murray's season, the season of Jamal Murray. And what I've seen in these preseason games are some flashes of some amazing virtuosity from him. But I've also seen a lot of stuff of like, yeah, these guys don't matter. I mean,
yeah, oh yeah, for
and
sure.
we'll see how much the next ones will matter as well. So I'm kind of on the like I expect a pretty regular season from Jamal Murray, to be honest. And I still hope he'll get the All-Star nod because of the playoff and stuff like that. I mean, coaches have to vote for him now, I think. But I'm kind of like in the camp of, yes, some of the stuff he'll do will probably be a lot better, but on average I think we'll still have some lulls from him, and that's completely fine. Just by the way, this is nothing against Jamal. It's just I want to pump the brakes a bit on the
year of Jamal Murray.
Year of Jamal.
Don't tell Harrison. You probably just tweeted it 7 minutes ago.
I mean, we all have our agendas. I mean, it's just that like the year of Jamal Murray. I don't know, man. It would be like if we would get the real 1B from Jamal on the Nuggets, that would probably be the best team in the league.
Yeah, they'd win 60 games probably.
Yeah. No, not 60 games. They would win like 5 consecutive championships.
Don't you think it's possible though that his path to an All-Star berth is just becoming is just racking up assists? Obviously being a good playmaker is the better route, not just stat counting, but there's a route for it, because like I don't know, if he forces it to try to make this 5-point per game jump, I don't actually think anyone in Denver wants to see that. But if he's consistent as a playmaker, and obviously he has a phenomenal opportunity in feeding Jokic out of the pick and roll, that could be enough for him to vault. You know, if he's consistent in that area. But I sometimes Jamal doesn't take the path of least resistance. So
you know what's actually going to happen? Like Jamal will average 22 points and 7 assists, and Harrison will say, yeah, but this was the season of Jamal Murray.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you see how much he improved on the intangibles?
That's right. That's right.
And he would actually be probably right. I mean, we have to stick with our agendas. Okay, back to the most important, I guess, silly award of the preseason, MVP of the preseason. And I'm sorry, Julian Stroughter did make like the most points per game and the most points per 36 minutes. But that was like only 0.4 points more than this guy, who averaged 27.2, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, 2.5 steals per 36, on 60% from the field. Disgusting. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Nikola Jokic. Was he the best player on the Nuggets in these 4 games?
Let me think.
Over Julian?
Let me think.
No.
Yeah,
I suspect they'll sit Jokic on the bench when Julian starts really getting going. Of the starters, yeah, but I mean off the bench, obviously, it's King Julian, right? He was good at everything. And unlike our previous rookie, who we won't mention, who we got rid of, he's not just a scorer. He really tries hard on defense, right?
Yeah, but when we talk about Jokic, how did you feel about his preseason showing comparison to previous seasons. Like,
so there's an interesting thing going on, and that is that Jokic is pushing scoring more, and Jamal is pushing passing more. And I suspect there's a reason for that. I mean, Jokic, one thing about Jokic, as opposed to him being called the Joker, he's actually extremely analytical, right? He does have things to prove, but he has things to prove to himself. I don't think he does anything on a whim. I think that he's looked at the weakness of his team is that they completely depend on him, and that people are going to start trying to force him to be a scorer. And if they do that, he's going to need to have a better scoring game, and Murray's going to need to have a passing game, and Aaron Gordon as well. And you'll notice all those other players are passing more except for him. And I think there's a reason for that. I think they're doing that on purpose.
Well, yeah, Nikola Jokic is the greatest offensive machine I've ever seen play basketball.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've made the observation that to paraphrase, I forget who, he's a McHale wrapped inside a shack inside an Elijah. I mean, it's just literally nothing the guy can't do. He's a basket machine. And, everybody, gives Nikola credit for always making the right basketball play. And I would say that's true with one exception. And that is, if he's really interested in making the right basketball play every time, he's going to shoot it every time. I mean, I know that, that's not best long-term, but like, is there really a possession where some shot from Nikola isn't their best offensive weapon? I mean, unless somebody's passing for a dunk, I'd rather have Nikola shoot it. So if you told me that the best iteration of the Denver Nuggets was Jamal focusing on playmaking and Jokic focusing on scoring, I believe that.
Yeah, and actually it makes sense. We say he's pushing for scoring right now. I think he's doing that on purpose because of Jamal. He wants Jamal to take his game to another level, to take 8-9 assists per game, which would be awesome, really. And what's the easiest way for Jamal to rack his assists is just feed the beast inside and just do whatever. Just do whatever. Brendan, is Nikola Jokic a better player right now than what he was the last time we saw him?
He probably will be by the end of the year, because that's the golden rule. But I actually would say no right now. I want to be careful how he is a little bit out of shape, and defense is absolutely beneath him. It is absolutely beneath him right now in the preseason. Am I worried? No. But in the finals, I think he was ready to play defense in any scheme against any opponent. And I think right now he's in rec league mode on that end of the floor. But I say that, and then it's like more so than ever, we take for granted there are so many elite star players who do have off nights. And then there's Jokic, who I'm thinking in that last game, I'm like, man, he's barely playing hard. And he had a damn near triple-double at the half, right? And we are used to this, but it's also like, man, this guy could be actively trying not to have a good game, and he would still have one. And so it's just he solving basketball is probably too dramatic of a statement, but he's approaching it if there is a solution.
But you need to also remember that we have had Nikola Jokic's best with a poor team, and he couldn't get to the championship. So he cannot do it by himself, and he does need these other people, passing and scoring, right?
Totally. Jamal I think Jamal is – it sounds weird because it almost implies that he wasn't doing this for years, but how his repertoire, his arsenal when it comes to getting Jokic the ball out of the pick and roll in a scoring position. And at this point, defenses are a little more aggressive with Jamal. They know he can score. They know he'll destroy them if they ask him to or let him. But he can get the ball to him. It can be a pocket pass. It can be a lob. It can be, I mean, there's almost no defense you can play against that pick and roll where those two don't know what to do. Yeah. And that's the part of Jamal, I think, that I am buying the stock in right now.
Yeah. Gordon made a really good point about basketball being a 5-on-5 sport. This is why player rankings are really dumb, even though we really love them. Because
they're so fun, though.
They're super fun. But on the other hand, I mean, have you seen the interview of Kenyon Martin, who said that that Kyrie Irving is the best player on the Dallas roster? So would Nikola Jokic be still the best player on Nuggets roster if Kyrie Irving would?
It's a great question, Miroslav. Is that the segment? Let's do it.
It's not something that was never, discussed before. And Kyrie was one of the guys that was supposedly targeted a couple of times in the past. Okay, so I'm guessing we're all agreeing that Nikola Jokic is still the MVP of this
I'm
team.
giving it to Strother. I know. Whatever, dude. He's the finals MVP. Sorry. He's got to average 40 points to win the preseason.
Jokic is old news. Strother's the new guy.
That's right, Gordon. Enough.
Yeah,
Enough.
Jokic is actually needs to prove it in preseason, and he didn't. So
That's the thing.
What's you gonna do?
And he's way out of shape. He's not just a little out of shape.
What's funny though, I think he's stronger than ever. So
yeah, I think he's got a lot of muscle on him too. Yeah,
no, it's like weird. I don't want to. Again, this sounds like these are human beings we're talking about, but visually, I see him check in at the start of every year, and he's a little overweight, but his shoulders are also. This guy looks like he could pick up a smart car right now.
Yeah, the other teams did nothing. I mean, it's really strange. It's really strange. We'll see. We'll see what will happen. Okay, it is time for our last break, and then I cannot help it. We have to play one game before we go. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we are back, and the game we are going to play is called Whose Stat Is It? So
the graphic.
Yeah, I really did my best here.
Mm-hmm.
So the regular season stats and even playoff stats are kind of easy to recognize because it's a big sample. But preseason can get really silly because it's only 5 games, and for some players even less than that. So we're not keeping any tallies. So just do whatever the first thing is for you that you think. So Gordon, let's start with you. Whose stat is it? This player led all Nuggets players with a total of -31 plus minus in the preseason. So who had the worst total raw plus minus in the preseason?
Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan is very correct. He only played in I think 35 minutes, so -31 in those 35 minutes. Pretty impressive. Okay, Brendan, question for you.
Oh no, Gordon just got it right.
Julian Strother led all Nuggets players with 14 3-pointers made in the preseason. Who was second?
I'm gonna say I have 2 guesses, but I have to pick one, don't I? I'm gonna say Reggie Jackson.
Reggie Jackson is correct, and actually, we've been talking about his off the ball shot. I mean, catch and shoot shot. It was really good. He actually made, I believe, 11 3-pointers. But
can I add something here?
Yeah, Gordon.
Reggie Jackson's 3-point percentage was 20 points higher than his free throw percentage.
Oh yeah, that's the good stuff.
So that feels sustainable.
That's right, 55%. That'll work.
Both of those numbers feel sustainable. Okay. Dan, this is a question for you.
The pressure's on.
This player led all Nuggets players with 28 attempted free throws in the preseason.
Now, I don't know the answer, but I did want to talk about Zeke Najee's free throw shooting, and I'm guessing it's Zeke Naji.
It is.
Let's
go.
Zeke
Naji.
Let's go, dude.
I think,
and I wanted to mention it because as much as I'm upset that the ball gets knocked out of his hands, at least he's going to the free throw.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's been more aggressive. That's why.
Strong agree.
So he had 28 attempted free throws. I think it would be 18 if he actually finished some of the end ones.
Yeah.
He wouldn't get as many, I guess. But he's a pretty good free throw shooter, so it's not as big of a deal as we portray.
I'll make another observation about Zeke at the free throw line, and that is it extends Jokic's rest time.
Oh, all right. I like it. I like it. I mean, it's going to be, if he's not going to drive in and dunk, drive in and draw fouls, and I have appreciated that aspect of his preseason for sure. And to that end, it does seem like he's rolling a lot more. We have not really seen him pop out behind the 3-point line a ton. So he's definitely trying to do this, and I think it's a welcome approach.
But he's not passing out of the role, though.
No, I mean, he's not. That's not really. We're so spoiled, man. We're like, why isn't this big? Like, that guy was open, you know?
Why cannot you see everything on the court?
Right.
Like,
yeah, poor Zeke. We're like, yeah, he's going to be the new DHO guy. He's like, Jesus, come on. I'm going to try.
Okay.
I just quickly on that one. I remember I was watching a pod you were on, Brendan, the other day, and you were saying that, Zeke, it's so unfair to judge Zeke because, we want him to guard in the perimeter and switch, and also we want him to rebound.
Right.
Now I'm saying, but he's not passing.
Right. Yeah. We're upset that he's not Jokic, and it's going to be a long 82, I think, in that regard.
There'll be a lot of upset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hope that questions begin to be a bit more
we got more
hard. Yeah, we have one more for each of you, and this is a good panel, so I was hoping for some misses early. So yeah, I'm just evil. So Gordon, this player led all Nuggets players with 11 turnovers in the preseason.
I would guess Reggie Jackson.
And you would guess wrong. Brendan?
Is it Peyton Watson?
It's not.
Oh,
Dan.
That was my guess too. Colin?
It's Braxton Key. There's no nice photo of him.
Isn't he Adam's guy?
Yeah, I think he had like 11 turnovers.
That's right. He had 4 in that last game.
In not very many minutes. So kudos to him. He really made a footprint.
He plays hard.
Stat sheet.
He's a lot of Torrey Craig going on there.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he gets a chance during this season. He looks like a real NBA player. We didn't spend a lot of time on him, but yeah, it makes sense. It's good if you can, fall on another guy if one of your main guys is not available for a week or so. Okay, Brendan, pressure cooker. This player led all Nuggets players with 11 personal fouls in the preseason.
This one is Peyton, right?
It is.
All right.
It is Peyton. He made 6 of those in game 1, right?
Yeah, 4 of them were in the first 5 minutes, I think. So, but listen, I think part of it is when he's been told by everyone that you go make this impact defensively. When he gets a sense of urgency of I got to make a play, I can see that manifesting in a lot of personal fouls. It's part of the raw description people have thrown on his game, which I think is very apt. So I don't want to – I've been low on him in this preseason, and I worry I'm at risk of sounding too harsh at sometimes because, I see the tools and the flashes, but the turnovers are definitely a part of his game.
I was really
– or fouls, excuse me. Sorry.
I was really trying to pump the brakes on him because it's too much pressure on the youngest player on the team. I mean, I know that Calvin is super high on him, and that's fine. That's cool. He might be right. He might be next, whoever he should be. But let's just wait for him to arrive.
Agreed.
I mean, he's only in his second season, and he's missed a lot of time in his first season. He only played for the Grand Rapids Gold, and let's not pretend that G League is a real league. Like Torrey Craig averaged 28 points there, so it is some kind of experience, but not the same one he'll get this season, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
So Dan, last question in this game. This player led all Nuggets players with 27.6 points per 36 minutes in the preseason, minimum 10 minutes played.
I'm going to say it was Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I actually gave away this answer earlier when I said Nikola Jokic was just 0.4 points behind guy number one. So, Gordon, chance for you to come back.
Yeah, no, you did give it away. It was Strother.
It is Julian Strother. Yeah, I just forgot what the questions are, so I babbled it up. I guess. And why I mentioned Amida Brida, what is that the name?
Brima.
Brima, yeah. Brima had like 35 points per 36.
I in preparation for this game, I looked up the per 36 in the preseason, and Brima like just jumps off the page.
Yeah, like 6 blocks and six steals as well. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. He did a lot of shit in those 6 slowly minutes. Okay, guys,
I want to go back and watch him.
Yeah. It sounds like a good thing to do.
I think it sounds better than it looks. That's probably like
yeah, like maybe just like my J Huff minutes I loved.
No, I'm glad you pushed back. Just because he got dunked on so hard that he missed a few games doesn't mean he didn't do something.
He was so good before that dunk.
Yeah,
he was.
I was in the arena that night. Yeah, screaming his name.
Yeah. I mean, he's super slow, but yeah, what you gonna do?
He's a good defender. He is a good defensive player around the rim.
Okay, so before we get out, we have something to plug. Dan, tell me what you got for us.
So I recognize the objective silliness of the Denver Nuggets song, but we all are affected the most by the music that we heard when we were teenagers, and when Gordon and I were back in the mid '70s Nuggets, they had this awesome Nuggets song called "Go with the Nuggets." I mean, Brendan's not old enough to remember it.
I've heard it though.
I'm sure he's seen it since becoming associated with the Nuggets. Yep. And I mean, I can sing every word of that, but I'm
not singing it.
Right, because I won't, because even though they're the Denver Nuggets friend, I will not sing it, but because I have my own song to promote. But last year, I wrote a Denver Nuggets anthem, and I had such a kick out of it. And my whole world, my family and my friends got just a giant kick out of it. And immediately after they won the title, there were just so many little things that I wanted to write about, and there were so many things. I mean, I had a list that was a page long of all the things I wanted to work into this song. Brendan Vogt was in the original list because I love his storytelling so much.
Thank you.
Miroslav made the list. The initial list. I'm sorry that you didn't get down to the final cuts.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is your last time being on this show. So
yeah, careful. I should have
here that. I'll tell the how Miroslav got cut out. There's a line that you're about to hear in the song that says, "We're going to have a parade in Belgrade," and my original conception of that was that Miroslav was going to host the parade in Belgrade. And then I realized, but wait a minute, Miroslav lives in Pančevo, and I don't know, man. I don't want to get involved in like these intra-city, Serbian, I don't know. I don't want to step into that. So right. You can tell me offline whether that was wise or not. I don't know, but it's on the other side of the river. I mean, I don't know. So
it's a big rivalry, 2 huge cities. So yeah.
I mean, it's like, if you got a St. Paul guy, you don't say he's from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Miroslav has a clip. We're gonna play it. To all the listeners, there's more. And I hope you'll listen to it and give it a listen. And I invite a Nuggets song contest throwdown. I can't wait to hear what the more talented people out there can do with the niche of a Denver Nuggets song. So go get them, Denver Nuggets songwriters.
Yes, so you can find in the description of this show the link to the actual full song that then Maiden will promote it, of course, other ways as well. So that's all for the preseason. Next time we'll have some games that count in the regular season to talk about. And before we do that, idemo Nuggetsi and enjoy this.
Trophy on the table, confetti on the floor. This is the year we're gonna win one more. Ball arena, get ready to roar. It's the Denver Nuggets in 24. We just begun the Denver Nuggets decade. Taking O'Brien's is our hope. You say Nikola Jokic better learn to love parades. Let's have one in Belgrade. Some teams are built, some teams are bought. Calvin Booth made an NBA juggernaut. Denver is basketball Camelot. Gonna party on the Cronky Yard. Opposing teams might as well stay out. Moach says they'll take the L on the way out. DraftKings and Superbook gonna have to pay out. Put that in your pipe and smoke it out. Raise the banner next to English and Thompson. 47 years we waited and then some. Lift the banner high, get ready for bedlam. Stay on top, Nuggets, and I strum. Trophy on the table, confetti on the floor. This is the year we're gonna win one more. Ball arena, get ready to roar. For the Nuggets in 2024.
That was good.